Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, hola, ciao, konnichiwa, good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you today? Welcome to Ken at 10, because it's 10 and I'm Ken. Hope you're doing well today. We are James Alexander Estate Agents. If you've joined us for the first time, welcome along. We talk about property live and what's going on in the local property market every day, together with what's going on generally. And here in London, the big news is ULEZ, of course. We're estate agents based between Streatham and Croydon, an area called Norbury, which is a Zone 3 commuter area. We talk all about sales, lettings, anything else that comes to mind, really. So the ULEZ, what are you thinking? I'm thinking it's incredibly unfair. I get it. Look, we need to make it cleaner, greener and everything else. But just thinking about the implications of this, what we're going to find is that imagine that you're just inside the ULEZ. You're going to park just outside it. Can you imagine all the roads that are now hugely congested because people are having to park outside of their own street? It's going to be a real problem for those right on the border of the ULEZ through no fault of their own. I can imagine there's going to be a huge amount of parking disputes and parking pressure on the areas that are just outside of the ULEZ. If you don't know about the ULEZ, it's just come in. If you've got a newer car, you're probably okay. If you bought it within the last 6 years, it's a diesel prior to 2015. It's almost certainly not. There is a website. If you Google ULEZ, then you will find that there's a checker. You can put your registration in and you can find out. But thanks to the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, you now pay £12.50, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 364 days of the year, because he gives you Christmas Day off. How kind. How kind indeed. Very frustrating. It's particularly frustrating for the little guy, for me, the little businessman. You imagine that you're a plumber in that area. How do you now recover that from your client every day when you just trip over that zone? I think it's going to be very difficult. So I think it's a mistake. I think it's the wrong way to go about this. I think they should be incentivizing the use of electric cars for sure, but I don't think they should be penalizing those that probably couldn't afford to scrap their cars, because it seems to me you're hitting the wrong person. You're hitting the working person in the pocket. But there we are. That's government rules for you. Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a couple of things today. The first thing I wanted to say was that we are doing really well with our appeal. I'm going to pop that up on the screen now. And this is for the Liberty Food Bank in Norbury. We now have 10% of our total, £300. And what's really humbling is many of the donations that have come in anonymously. And there's something very humbling about that for me. People have just gone, I don't want anybody to know who I am, but I'm having this cause, I'm going with this cause. And that's really kind and generous, don't you think? Absolutely nothing to gain and putting money in. And, one of them wrote a special quote, and I thought it was rather beautiful. I think it's probably a religious quote. I don't know, because I'm not a religious person, so forgive my ignorance, heathen that I am. But if you're more fortunate than your neighbour, don't build a higher fence, build a longer table. Thank you for all you do. That was a comment from somebody that donated just now. I just thought, what a beautiful thing to say and a beautiful thing to think about. So do give to the Liberty Food Bank appeal. I want to go there live today. I'm going to have a word with Jan, see if I can pop in live and just see it in action, so I can bring you some live action from there and encourage you to donate to what is a very justified cause. And we're 10% of the way there. We've got £300 towards our 3,000, but that's still 2,700 short of our target. So we've got a long way to go. Of course, we'll be contributing substantially, but we hope you will too. It doesn't have to be with your name. It can be anonymous. If you want to mention yourselves or your companies, then you're very welcome to do so, and expect a plug from us, because we love it when you do that. So thank you very much for that. Let's get on to the housing of the day. What's going on? What's happening? Well, here in southwest London, first of all, the weather is beautiful. It's a cracking autumnal day today. The sun's out. It's that kind of time where you've got long shadows because the sun's lower in the sky, but some beautiful autumnal colours and lovely sunshine. So yeah, good start to the day. A few bits of news for you. First of all, BBC News, there's a report that says the government will invest £2 billion in building new homes in derelict or unused land in England. Rishi Sunak is expected to announce in the budget. The government says the £1.8 billion fund will be used to build 160,000 greener homes on brownfield land, equivalent to 2,000 football pitches. Well, it's never enough, is it? They say all this like it's big sound bites, but the reality is they're way, way behind on target. That's why there's so much pressure over it. There's so much controversy. There's a new plan to give people a vote on new housing. This is an article in The Guardian saying that to give people, strip councils of their decision making and give it back to the people. I don't see how that's going to work, because most people are very much NIMBY. They don't want new development in their backyard. So you give power to the people, they're going to vote against the developments. And then what are you going to do? You're going to give it back to the councils, are you? So I don't see that one working at all. This is not financial advice now, by the way, but there is an interesting article in the Telegraph today. The insurer Rothesay is to offer a fixed rate mortgage for 30 years. Yeah, you did hear that right, 30 years. Most people's mortgages aren't even 30 years, but it just goes to show now 30-year, 35-year mortgages are more common now because, properties are so unaffordable here in the UK because we're not building enough. It goes back round in a circle, doesn't it? The demand is still there. The supply is not as prevalent as it should be. And the insurance firm Rothesay is set to offer fixed rate mortgages for up to 30 years, offering borrowers a chance for stability amid potential interest rate increases. Rothesay Life, which boasts more than 60 billion of assets, is planning a tie-up with British lender to finance longer date mortgages. As of June 2021, 17% of its investments were secured in residential lending. It's a pensions provider. And yeah, interesting to see that. And the government's encouraging more financial institutions to enter into the market in a bid to curb the trend for 40-year in length, so that they've got options to fix very long term with interest payments of less than 3%, which may sound high by today's terms when we have a 0.1% base rate, but actually in the medium to long term is quite a reasonable rate. But it's a roll of the dice, isn't it? Do you fix? Do you stick? We've been saying for some time that it's a great time to fix, but that's your call. I think it should have been done already. The rates are rising and they're likely to raise more. So cladding, another thing on the cladding scandal, says that Levelling Up community suggests that the removal of high-risk buildings and claddings could take another 3.5 years. That's more than 7 years after the Grenfell Tower fire. It's been an absolute nightmare for leaseholders, and it hasn't helped the way that we've handled it, in my view. But there we are. So, 30-year mortgages. Pleased about that. The lovely people at Generation Rent have said that they are urging a national registration scheme for landlords, and this is to help with the problem of unsafe private rented accommodation. The reality is there isn't that much unsafe rented accommodation, and rogue landlords are by no means the norm. They really are the exception, and the stats prove that out. Nonetheless, they're suggesting that the government should regulate, and I get that. And one of the things I'd like to see, if you're going to register and regulate landlords, then it seems unfair to me to do it piecemeal, so local authorities can take advantage, as they have been, and instead do a national licensing scheme, which would make much more sense. So I do get it. I do get why they want it. Goldman Sachs is confident in the British home rental sector. Goldman's, like many big corporate institutions, are investing in buy-to-let. And the US banking giant bought another portfolio of 918 homes in the northwest of England for 150 million. And it's thought that the investment will cost 200 million, buying hundreds more rental properties over the next 3 years. It's good to see. Other investors like Lloyd's, Legal & General, and BlackRock, the American asset manager, are also ploughing cash into the sector. I mean, they don't do this for love. They don't do it for fun. They see a shortage, and they know that big rent rises are on the cards here in the UK. And that's why they're all diving in. So it really, if you're a buy-to-let investor, then it really does vindicate your decision to be involved with UK property right now, because, we're just not building enough houses fast enough. The demand, especially nearer to the cities, is still huge. And especially since the pandemic has eased, let's hope it continues to do so heading up to Christmas. Apart from that, we also have at the moment, we've got the roadblocks in London due to the usual campaigners, let's make, save the planet. Frustrates the life out of me. As if we haven't got enough problems of people gluing themselves to roads like it's going to help. What do? Create more congestion, more issues for the general public going about their honest, law-abiding businesses, unlike you gluing yourself to the road. There we are, ran over for the day. Apart from that, we are looking at a busy day today. Sales valuations, lettings valuations, things coming up, lots of offers coming in. Always a good day for us on Monday. We have a big sales meeting in the morning to make sure everybody knows what's available, what's gone, what buyers we're going to go with that have offered over the weekend, and what we can do to make sure we give the best service to our clientele. So thanks very much for watching today. We're back same time tomorrow with another edition. This week it's Halloween, so we've got the decorations up in the window, and we are doing your property horror story. So if you have a property horror story, we'd like to hear it. We have one very big one for you that happened over the weekend, and we'll be revealing all. We may not identify, or we may identify depending on what the person wants, but we'll certainly tell you a story on that one. But if you've got your property horror stories you can tell us, then drop me a line, ken@jamesalexander.com, or buzz me 0208 679 8601. Love to hear from you, or direct message me on whatever platform you're on. Love to hear about your property horror stories, and we'll broadcast them live for you this week on the show. The podcast this week was a special one as well. Do have a listen. search me on Spotify or iTunes, and you'll find that there's a really, really interesting one this week about leaseholds, what's happening with the Leasehold Reform Act, with common hold and everything else. Great talk with Ash Oberoi. He's a specialist in lease renewal, extension and disputes, and he talks through where we are now, what are short leases, what you can do about them, what's coming in the future. And I thought it was a really interesting talk. And certainly if you've got a leasehold property, have a listen to that. Look up Ken Hume's podcast or the Property Buyer and Sellers podcast on your local provider, and you should find us there, and be interested on your feedback to see what you think. I thought that was a really interesting chat. He's a great guy. Thank you so much for that, Ash, if you're watching. And that's it. So stay safe and well. Have a fantastic day. Off into the meeting now. And we'll be back same time tomorrow for another Ken at 10. Till then, stay safe. Look after family and friends. Ciao.